you so much for joining this sort Get Out the Vote kickoff. There's Gail. There's some people that couldn't, from our executive committee, that couldn't make it. Gabriel is feeling a little bit sick, and Tim and Mary, I believe, are either protesting or at an event. So totally fine, but thank you so much to everyone that has joined. I'm gonna give a couple seconds to each one of you to introduce yourselves and your roles in the party.
I'm Ellen Barrow. I'm the vice chair, and I just finished a campaign for supervisor, and so I'm very invested in getting more Democrats in our county politics and on the city level as well. So I'm all about get out the vote.
Yay, thank you so much. John, what about you?
Well, I'm very pleased to be the corresponding secretary for the San Luis Obispo County Democratic Party currently. And, you know, like Ellen, like everybody here, it's about getting out the vote. You know, we're celebrating today. I really want to celebrate in November.
Yes, it's going to be a big party. Gail, go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Gail Bunting. I'm the recording secretary for the SLO Democratic Party, and super excited to get out the vote this November, and I look forward to celebrating again at that time.
Awesome. And Charles? You are muted, Charles. It's typical. Don't worry.
Hi, I'm Charles Varney. I'm chair of the Get Out the Vote team. And hey, it's our time to stand up. And I'll be talking to you soon about how you can do that.
Yes. Yes, we will have Charles in just a minute again. And my name is Rita Casaverde. I'm the chair of the SLO County Democratic Party. Just really happy for everyone that has made it to or Zoom and also watching us on live on Facebook. I just want to remind everyone that we only have 122 days until November 3rd and only 93 days before vote by mail ballots make it to your mailboxes. So it's a pretty scary thought. We only have 93 days until we can rally the troops and make sure that everyone is ready to vote and knows how vote by mail is going to work and how the elections for November are going to work. So yes, we don't have that much time. So we wanted to do a campaign kickoff just to show everything that we have been doing and also showcase a few of our elected officials and candidates. So hope you really enjoy it. We're going to have a lot of people talking throughout the hour that we have today. And we're also going to have a raffle. So stay tuned. We're going to give the details of the raffle in just 1 second. And one more thing, we're going to have a Spanish section in our program, which we're really excited about. This November, our Congress member, Salud Carvajal, he speaks Spanish. Joan Lair, who's going to be here today with us in just a little bit, going for state senate, also is fluent in Spanish. And Don Ares, who's running for state assembly, also speaks Spanish. So we're going to be interviewing Don Ares in Spanish for all of our Spanish and our Latino, Hispanic community out there. Just to show you how much we care and how much we want to make voting accessible. And we're gonna have some cumbias going once we figure out the music details. And yeah, we're really excited. We have a full hour program, maybe a little bit more, prepared for all of you, and we are all ready to get out the vote. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to the executive committee. I'll loop you back in just a little bit. You can just turn off your camera and mute yourself, and we'll be good. And next, we're gonna stay with Charles, because Charles is not only such an inspiration for a party that I wish just everyone to know. He has been leading so many campaigns, so many good fights in our county just to keep our county cleaner, keep fracking at bay, and now Charles is the chair of our Get Out the Vote subcommittee and has been doing amazing. So Charles, tell us a little bit about what your subcommittee has been working on and what's right now in the program and the calendar. You're muted, Charles, sorry. It's happening.
So Get Out the Vote is a great opportunity for all of us to engage in something that's really meaningful something that has the potential to make a huge difference. And it's all about Democrats contacting, reaching out to other Democrats and liberal, you know, folks that are independents. What we're doing is we're calling Democrats, and contacting people who really, they want to serve. They have the energy for this. Many have a lot of time on their hands and they want to get going with it. It's fun, it's satisfying work. The other day I tested our first script. I called 20 people and it was just dynamite time. Of the 20 people, I left 15 voicemail messages, which is giving people important information about, you know, voting by mail and so on and so forth. And 5 people that I talked to, 4 of them volunteered. They were really excited to have that. So we want to build our capacity to outreach through phoning, through texting, through cards, to thousands and thousands of Democrats across our county. We have 20,000 Democrats that only vote by poll, and we want to reach out to them and give them information about how vote by mail is going to be working. I've heard people say that, oh, you know, California is such a blue state, and yet we're really lucky to be in a progressive blue state. But, you know, so it's not that important. You know, Biden's going to carry the state and Democrats going to win. And but we can't be complacent about that. And most importantly, it's down the line balloting. San Luis Obispo County has some really blue sections, but it's basically a lot of red, a lot of city councils that are red, community services districts. And we hope to be able to maybe even work on the basic local level if we have enough capacity. So it's really easy to get involved. Go to San Luis Obispo County Democratic Party.org, SLOCDP.org, and you can sign up. We have multiple trainings going on. We have a great Get Out the Vote team. I'm so proud of the work that we have done together and the work we're going to do, and we need you to be part of it. Please join us.
Yes, thank you so much, Charles. And if you are wondering, where do I go? What's my next step? I want to get involved. I want to help get out the vote. You can go to our website right here. Actually, it's right here. Sorry, it's very, right here. SLOCDP.org, get out the vote. Right now, you're going to find a form where you enter your information, like your name, your email, your zip code, and what kind of things you would like to help us with. And that's it. We'll contact you. We'll get you phone banking right away. If you are not sure what phone banking is or you want to learn more, we can always train you. Right now we have trainings. If you go to our website and you check out our calendar, you're going to see trainings happening all this week and all next week at different schedules. You can just sign up and get trained for phone banking. And we're going to be doing text banking next, and so many other things. We're adapting to COVID, but we only have 93 days until the ballots are getting to people's houses. And we need to make sure that everyone's educated, everyone knows their options, and everyone knows and is ready to vote. So now, I'm gonna check with our DJ. We have Suzette Lopez today. She is a DJ that is here helping us put in some music, and we had some technical difficulties at the beginning, but let me see. Yay, I think we're on. I know we might still be having a few issues. Let's see. Hey, John, how are you doing? Are you ready to dance? Almost, we're almost there, we're almost there. There's Suzette, there she is. So Suzette's a Latina DJ, super proud, super excited to have her. We're gonna try to figure out the volume issue, but we're gonna put also Suzette's information in our comments in case you wanna contact her. These are just our Zoom virtual issues, but we're figuring it out. And next in our program, we're gonna have also Don Ares. So in just a minute, you're gonna be hearing about my dear friend, Don Ares, who is running for state assembly. So give me 1 second, we'll be right back. Okay, so Seth's still working it out. That is completely fine. Zoom is new to all of us. But I do want to tell you that we're going to be having a raffle. And we're going to be raffling a $50 gift card. The only thing that you have to do is share our website. The link is right here. You can also share our event or live video in your Facebook. And once you do that, come back to our live video on Facebook and just write a comment like, I'm ready to get out the vote, or thank you for doing this, or where do I sign up? Anything, anything positive. And then we are going to take a look at all the comments and everyone that is leaving a comment on our video, and we're gonna do a raffle at the end of the program. We'll probably cut it off at like about 3:45, so we have enough time to count everyone. But if you want a $50 gift card, you can right now share our website on your Facebook, share this video or this event on Facebook, and then come back to our video and write a comment. You can also let us know here on Zoom if you have written the comment, but we will be checking the Facebook Live comment feed to see who's participating in the raffle. And tell your friends if you want them to participate in the raffle too, or your relatives, your family members. Are we good, Suzette? Let's try it one more time. Let me know if anyone can hear the music. I am not able to hear. Will you come back? Nothing else matters. Just like the wild wind does, sing songs like she's singing. Ooh, baby, ooh, yeah, ooh. Just like the wild wind does, sing songs like she's singing. Yeah, ooh, baby, ooh, yeah, ooh.
Noche rompemos, a otro día volvemos. Tú sabes cómo lo hacemos, baby. This is the rhythm of the night. Baby, tonight's like fuego. We about to spend the dinero. We party to the extremo, baby. This is the rhythm of the night.
Thank you so much, Suzette. You're awesome. So I'm gonna stop there. Awesome. Thank you so much, Suzette. So next, thank you. Next we have my dear friend. I'm gonna find her here on my list of attendees. There it is, my dear friend, Dawn Addis. So Dawn, you should be able to share your video. There you are. Thank you so much for joining us today. So I don't know if anyone knows this, but Dawn was actually one of the first people that I talked to about just getting even further active in SLO County and just doing more activism on women's rights, and what really led to this. So Dawn was gracious enough of one day I just went up to her at an event and said, Dawn, or I didn't even know her name. You had a women's march T-shirt. I remember going up and saying, hey, I want to help. I don't know how, but I want to help. And you told me, hey, let's get coffee this day at 9 a.m. And, you know, that was 2 years ago. So thank you for being here, Dawn. How are you doing?
I'm good. I have the golden touch, Rita. I know how to pick a good leader.
You're so nice. Yeah, well, Dawn and I have known each other for, I think, more than 2 years now. We both are part of the San Luis Obispo Women's March. Dawn, you were one of the founders, and I believe, was it your idea? How did the whole thing start?
Yeah, well, you know, back in a few years ago, none of us were happy about what was happening with the current president, with President Trump, and I wanted to go to Washington, D.C., and then decided, no, I don't want to go there. I want to do something right here at home, and said, you know what, I'm going to throw caution to the wind and organize a women's march right here, and people might come out, people might not come out. But either way, we'll be using our voices, and we'll be stepping up, and we'll be changing the world in the way that we want to. And I was fortunate that a lot of people wanted to do the same thing. And we created a fantastic team that, you know, a number of us, yourself, Gail, a number of folks who may or may not be on the call right now, you know, put our hearts into it, and it resonated, and we've been very fortunate. But one of the things that I realized very quickly was that as much as we were doing with Women's March, we weren't seeing change right here on the Central Coast. And so that's what really drove me into politics and drove me to want to run for office at all. But before we tell my story, I do want to say congratulations to the new Central Committee. I've been with all of you once before, but I just think it's fantastic that here you are organizing your first 4th of July, your first get out the vote, your first big election for November 2020. It's really, what you're doing is momentous, and you're to be congratulated. And I just think it's fantastic what's happening. I couldn't think of a better Central Committee team. It's really wonderful.
Thank you so much. There has been so many people that have poured a lot of time into absolutely everything, not just this event, but so much more happens in the background. A lot of the get out the vote efforts, Charles leading amazing subcommittee with a lot of people that have stepped up to create the scripts, to contact volunteers, to start phone banking, to give the trainings. But Dawn, how did you, so with Women's March, which is where I know you the most,
Yeah.
There was an event organized, people came together, people showed up, people stepped up, and there had been a lot of changes. You know, protests do make a difference, rallies do make a difference, people coming together for a common cause does make a difference. How did you decide to just like now give that huge step, which is running for a state seat, knowing that you already had done a lot, and you're a city council member as well from Morro Bay. The step that you're taking now is so big, and I'm guessing it's taking so much of your time, your family's time. How did you decide to do it? What was that?
Well, yeah, you know, there were two main things. One is it's 2020, and it's absolutely time to be done with Trumpism, and every office that we can be done with Trumpism. And the current, you know, assembly person votes a pretty strict Republican Party line. I know there's folks out there that think he's a nice guy, or think that he's one of the moderates. If you look at his voting record, he's absolutely not a moderate. He voted against expanding reproductive rights on college campuses. He recently voted against larger fines for oil tankers that cause oil spills. He has an A+ rating from the NRA. So when I started learning those things about who's getting this, you know, the salary to go up to Sacramento to represent us, I really saw clearly that that's not who we are and who we want representing us. But I still said, I don't know if this is the right race because I don't know if it's winnable. And all those things are great, but I'm not really that interested in running in a race that's for sure a losing proposition. And I, you know, to your point, I didn't feel like I needed more to do or more name recognition or, you know, any of the other reasons sometimes people run. And so what I quickly learned was that in 2018, the registration changed in Assembly District 35, and the district goes from Paso down to Lompoc. So now there's actually more registered Dems than there are Republicans. It's about a 36, 34, 34, 32 advantage. And depending on how you look at voter turnout, the spread grows to about a 6-point spread. So when you're thinking about get out the vote, that's incredibly important because it's a hard race to win if you don't have that Democratic registration advantage. With that advantage, we really have potential here, and it makes it all the more important that every Democrat gets out to win and or to vote. Charles mentioned earlier, you know, some people might just assume that Biden will take California, and that might be true, but without the California state legislature, there's a lot that we can't get done, and there's a lot of resources we can't bring to our district. So it's an incredibly important seat. And a couple other things for Dems to know is that every other partisan office held in Assembly District 35 is held by a Democrat. So Congressman Carbajal, our whole Assembly district is within his congressional district. We also have State Senator Bill Monning, soon to be State Senator John Laird, who's a Democrat. State Senator Hannah Beth Jackson is south to us, but she covers Assembly District 35. And she's a Democrat. And so really this seat is ready to flip. We just have to do the work to make sure it happens. So that's what compelled me, because I'm a hard worker. I know that I can outwork most people. And I know also the inspiration that we have here on the Central Coast. Together, that's a winning formula.
Yes, thank you so much, Dawn. And I cannot recommend you enough for anyone that is right now watching, thinking who to vote for at State Assembly. We're going to be sharing this video far and wide. I've seen you work. I've seen you get work done.
Yeah.
And I am always inspired by how much work you really put into it and how much thought, because that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. A lot of the decisions that you've taken have maybe 4 or 5 layers of just thoughtfulness, making sure that it's the right thing to do, and bringing perspectives that are very different, which I think would do amazing in Sacramento. And I'm just so ready for you to represent us there too.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm excited. It's an exciting time.
Yes, and Dawn is going to be back here with us in a little bit. She's going to be speaking to Adrian Garcia in Spanish, porque aquí mi amiga habla español. Dawn Aris, my friend, speaks Spanish, so we're going to be doing that in just a little bit. But now we are going to transition into our next section. Thank you so much, Dawn, for joining us.
Thank you. I'll see you in a minute. Nos vemos.
There's join us or clapping features. So next we have elected officials from our county. We are going to have, and I'm going to make a co-host now, to our council member from Arroyo Grande, Jimmy Polden, and also our leader, Democratic, my favorite mayor, sorry, I have to say it, my favorite mayor, Heidi Harmon, who has been really leading the fight on a lot of democratic values in our county. So Heidi, you should also be able to share. There you are. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. So I'm gonna leave you guys to it. You guys are gonna be talking to us a little bit about the importance of voting and getting out the vote. I'll be right back, but I'll leave you guys to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Rita. Hi, Jimmy, and everybody else here on the call. I'm just going to note that I know we're running late, but I have to go in about 3 minutes or 4 minutes to another meeting. So, Jimmy, if you don't mind, maybe I would just start by making sure that everybody knows that only half of Americans vote. And even talking to a lot of the young people that are organizing these protests that have been so powerful and so important, hearing from a lot of those folks that some of them aren't thinking about voting. So I don't know if those of us that are really into politics and those of us who have been voting since the moment we could really fully deeply understand how many folks aren't voting on a regular basis. And so, you know, I'm of the mind, and I think I've shared this on calls with the party before, that the Republicans are not our enemy actually at all. It's apathy that's our enemy. And that's why we have to have good candidates and values and commitment and courage to stand by those candidates and those values in order to excite people enough to get them to come out and vote. So just wanted to start with that. And then Jimmy, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you in the time that I have.
That sounds good, and I completely agree, Heidi. That's what we need to do, and I really appreciate you saying too that it's not Republicans that are the enemy. You know, apathy and indifference. So how can we get everybody involved? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear what you have to say, Jimmy, and I'm sure there's lots of people here that could maybe even add into the chat. I mean, we need to also be really clear that there is a major enthusiasm gap at the presidential election, and that's real. And I get it that it's important and that we're, you know, obviously the incumbent in the White House is destructive at a historic scale, and there's no question about that. And still, we have a major enthusiasm gap in the presidential election. So I would not at all count on the normal Democratic presidential election bump necessarily, because I think that's something that we need to really just name and just fold into our thinking. And I think that just like there's a total vacuum in leadership at the federal level in general right now, it's really local electeds that are really stepping into that gap anyway. And so when you look across the landscape of the United States, you see mayors and city council members and governors too, especially in the context of COVID, really stepping into that vacuum and really providing powerful, important leadership. And so if people can't get excited about the presidential election, and a lot of people aren't, there's a lot that they can get excited about the local level, because that's really city by city where problems are being solved anyway. So Jimmy, I don't know what you think, but I think the locals actually really where it's at. True, I could be significantly biased, but that's what I see across the United States. So I'd be curious to hear what you have to say.
Oh, no, it's a great point, Heidi. I mean, obviously we both serve at the local level, and you know, being on the Rio Grande City Council is truly a pleasure. And we work on so many different things, you know, from right now we're working on law enforcement reform, as most of the cities are locally. It's a huge issue. We also get into the technical merits of regional water projects and things like that. But yeah, the local level, I mean, if you look at the County Board of Supervisors, obviously, you know, I had run for county supervisor in 2018 and lost by 60 votes. So when you look at really the impact that volunteers can have on the process, supporting local candidates, it's huge. And like you said too, the politics that we see at the national level are right here in SLO County. We see that on the County Board of Supervisors. We have a very conservative board majority that votes against environmental and social justice issues all the time. We see the same basically lack of science, facts, common sense occurring right there. And so getting involved and supporting local candidates who have the right values is really important.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the county, Jimmy, and that painful reminder that you almost won. Because my feeling as a local elected, and especially the mayor of the county seat, where we have the largest population, where we have we have the vast majority of folks that are living unsheltered. You know, a lot of the challenges that we face as individual cities are really amplified here in the city of San Luis Obispo. And I am noticing that I'm curious about the county really doesn't seem like it's really living up to its mandates in a lot of ways. And I think that that's hopefully a conversation that maybe we can have consistently across the entire county, is that the county needs to really step up in a lot of ways. Just by way of example, the city of San Luis Obispo spends more out of our general fund than the county does on homelessness, for example. And so there's a lot of problems that we have to solve. And Jimmy, I'm sure you experience this, and Dawn probably does too, and any other municipal level officials that might be on the call. We get the blame and the praise, but mostly blame for everything, right? And I think another opportunity that we have as a party to do that I think would be so helpful is to really educate people about how government works, how local government works in particular, and how advocacy can be the most impactful and effective. So if you want to advocate for something, what level of government do you need to go to? And what's the most impactful way to do that? And all of that, of course, relies on having the right people in office, because all the advocacy in the world, as we've seen over and over again, at the county level especially, doesn't mean anything if you don't have people that are open to those conversations. And so just want to reiterate the essential importance of registering and voting. And I think that since we're mostly in a virtual space right now, there's a lot of work that all of us can be doing, calling people on the phone, of course, sharing on social media, and really checking in with people. Don't assume that people are registered, and don't assume that people are voting. Like I said, even people that are side by side with you at a protest, don't make an assumption that those folks are registered and ready to vote. We can have a lot of one-on-one conversations in our so-called downtime at home while we're potentially sheltering at home again, to have those conversations to get people registered and encourage them to vote.
And I would just add two things to that. And that is, I'm really impressed with the caliber of our local leadership in our Democratic Party, obviously with Rita at the helm. And I'm very confident in their ability to plug you in, whoever you are, and whatever skill set you have, and whatever your circumstances are. I know so many people, are without a job and maybe even have time on their hands. Now is the time to get involved, and the local folks will plug you in and figure out ways that you can participate. You may think that you don't have something to add or value to add in this particular case, but you have skills and talent that the party needs, and needs it now more than ever. So just my recommendation would be get involved, don't hesitate, and at least reach out. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, and the impact that you can have is huge.
And it seems like there's a real opportunity, especially with the younger generation, to really, that, younger folks have they're low propensity voters, which is so interesting in this time where I feel like climate justice, racial justice, economic justice, a lot of these movements, all of them are being led by young people. In some cases, they're teenagers, so they don't have the opportunity to vote, but we can also still get those young folks involved. But definitely, if they're of voting age, we would do well to have a youth-oriented strategy to invite and support young people to step up and actually vote. Having been an activist for a long time myself, and I'm sure a lot of people on the call could resonate with this, marches and protests are in many ways significantly easier than the actual day in and day out work of democracy. They're more fun, it's more energy, it's social, it's all those things. And young people have a tendency to gravitate to that, which is why we've seen so many young folks out there in these marches. Also, they're over it, and they're a lot wiser than I think we were, and hopefully we can take their lead in many ways. But a lot of democracy is actually quite boring, right? I'm sure that Jimmy and Dawn and any other local elected on this call could confirm that, right? And advocates that actually really do the day in, day out work of true advocacy. And so there needs to be a bridge built between the sort of fun, or at least energized, exciting, sort of the drama of marches and protests, and build that bridge to really implementing the policies that people are advocating for. And that bridge is essentially registering and voting. And with that, I'm going to go. Jimmy, you can take it away. And thank you, everybody. And I'm looking forward to seeing you one way or the other on the campaign trail and voting in November. Bye.
I'll just make a couple concluding remarks. I would also add that, obviously we need to look to who our candidates are right now, and find ways to support them because they have the right values. And so we need to support candidates like Dawn Addis and Congressman Salud Carbajal and our future state Senator John Laird. They're gonna work really hard for us, and some of them already are. And so it's just, this is the time where we need to fight what's happening at the national level, and that is being encouraged at the local level. That's hate. We're seeing the authoritarianism, oligarchy, corruption, ignorance, and indifference, like Heidi mentioned earlier. And we're really the party that's standing for the rule of law and civil rights and constitutional rights. And, looking at the day that it is today, the 4th of July, freedom, liberty, and justice for all, for everybody. And that's no matter your race, sex, gender, or religion. And so it's time, if you haven't already gotten involved, to get involved. And so I'll go ahead and stop there. And if there are any other comments or questions, I'd be happy to answer those now or towards the end.
Oh, that was sweet. Thank you so much for that conversation. Thank you so much. Yes, we need to get the youth. And now, just to make it fun, like you guys mentioned, so we're gonna go back to DJ Sue's. But thank you so much, Jimmy, for everything, and we'll be talking soon for sure.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Bye. And now, back to our DJ. So I'm gonna. There it is. Oh, I can't unmute you. We are learning. There it is. We'll be back in just a little bit. I did it. Yeah. Thank you so much, dear Jesus. You are amazing. Well, now we have next. I'm going to introduce you to a young Cal Poly student. She is one of the co-chairs of our Cal Poly Club, along with Rob Moore. But Lauren Buckley is going to be holding a conversation. There you are, Lauren. A conversation with one of our 2020 candidates for State Senate, or candidate for State Senate, John Lair, who now should be able to also share his screen and share his camera. Let's see, how are you doing, Lauren? How's 4th of July treating you?
Doing great. I'm kind of feeling a little hot with the 85-degree weather and no air conditioning, but it's great.
John. Hey, John. Thank you so much for coming. I'm gonna leave you guys to it, but I'll be right back.
Great.
Great. Thank you, John, for joining us. I guess I'm going to jump right into it. So first of all, what drives you to run for office again? Of course, you've been on many boards, you were the mayor for a little bit. And I also wanted to know, like, what's at stake during the next election in regards to your policy priorities?
Well, it's great to be there. I wish I could be with you all personally. I was there 25 times in the year before the election, and I'm looking forward to being back. What really drives me is getting things done and having the chance to get things done. And when we were going through the primary, I was really talking about the fact that we're in a climate crisis. We need a state equivalent of a Green New Deal. We need some form of single payer, universal health coverage. And right now, the federal government's response to a pandemic is to try to remove 23 million people from healthcare. We can't be doing that. We have to be heading in the other direction. We have a major affordable housing crisis, and we need to make sure education is sustainable, of good quality for everyone, and affordable to everyone. And since the primary, the world has changed. Science has moved to the fore. Public health has moved to the fore. Racial and social justice has moved to the fore in a way that it should have been there and hasn't been there in some ways since the 60s. And so that's the real motivator right now, is get things done around those issues. And I think there's an incredible opportunity. And I think the people are organizing in the face of nothing happening at the federal level. And just as Heidi and Jimmy and Dawn and others, Rita, have been saying, we have to motivate people around those issues, let them know they're at stake and that it's not going to happen unless they get out and vote. So that's right what's at hand right now.
Absolutely. And I've seen a huge movement among young people as well, just taking to the streets in the name of social justice issues. And it's been incredibly inspiring to me, and I'm sure a lot of people on this call as well. And with that being said, we actually had a recent win on the Supreme Court in regards to workplace protections for LGBTQ folks. And I just wanted to get your opinion on what we can do to continue the momentum and advocate for more protections, like housing discrimination protections for LGBTQ folks.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the Supreme Court caught up with the California courts that did the same thing 40 years ago. And when I was in the Assembly, what the courts did in California, what the Supreme Court did last week, is to say that even if there's a Civil Rights Act with different categories of non-discrimination, it's broader by reference. It can cover sexual orientation or other items if they're not specifically named. And when I was in the Assembly 15 years ago, I successfully authored a bill that, even though the court had done that, named those. It added marital status, it added sexual orientation. So it was explicit in the state under Civil Rights Act. And what we have to do now is, A, we have some good laws that need to actually be enforced. It's not enough for a court or a legislature to act. We have to put money behind the Fair Employment and Housing and make sure that it's enforced. But we have to take the next steps, because the issue of trans people is still very much at hand, and Trump is trying to remove them from the military and other benefits. Kids are still being bullied. There are seniors that are having to go back in the closet when they go into assisted living or a nursing home. We still have a lot of things to do. And I think for the first time, we can do them through the budget, which hasn't been done in California in the same way. We can do them, continue to do them through local ordinances that pressure the state if they're not there, or do it in the state that pressures the federal government if they haven't acted yet. And once again, we just celebrated the 51st anniversary of Stonewall. And that wasn't lawyers or doctors or elected officials. It was drag queens, people of color that got out there and made the change. And it's what's happening in the streets right now. It's not our federal representatives. It is really individual people that are taking to the streets and saying we have to have racial and social justice. And we need to motivate people to vote. And we need to elect people that will take that activism and that fervor and enact it into law, because we still have things to do.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you brought up trans rights and activism as well. Trans women and trans men in our country have been shoved under the rug and absolutely not protected by our government for years, especially starting with Stonewall, with Marsha P. Johnson, who was one of the organizers of that protest. Trans lives are absolutely need to be protected, and they cannot be left out when we're creating new legislation for LGBTQ folks. And with that being said, of course, you're a member of the LGBTQ community, and I wanted to ask what barriers you have experienced in politics as a member of that community, and what's the importance of voting for LGBTQ plus politicians?
I think the interesting thing is I am older. So 38 years ago, I crashed the barrier at the city level, and I was one of the first 3 openly gay mayors in the United States ever. And there were lots of issues. There were death threats, there were threats to re-election, there were many other things. And yet people would walk up to me on the street and say, my parents talked to me as a result. You have modeled it. I know I can do it. One guy came to me once and said, I was about to drop out of school and I heard about you and I realized if you could do it, I could do it. And I stayed in there and hung in there. So it's always been important for me to be clear, to make sure that I'm mentoring people, to make sure people know that this is about them as well. And that's what will still happen. Although I have to say it's mind-boggling that there's more openly LGBT elected officials in the Monterey Bay Area than there were in the entire United States when I was first elected to office. And so it's just continuing that. And even in the epidemic, statistics haven't been kept with regard to LGBT people in California. It's unclear if there's a health disproportional impact. I ran an AIDS service agency at the height of the epidemic. And in some ways, I feel the same thing. I hear people now say, we've never had anything like this before. And it's like, where were you in the 80s or 90s when exactly it was happening before? And so I think it's important always to be out and be clear so people know that there are role models for them to do the same thing. We've come a long way, but there's still a ways to go. And as we've seen by the death in Minneapolis, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was not the end. It needs to be constantly renewed. It needs to be renewed in the public sphere. It needs to be renewed where people making their own recommitments to racial and social justice, regardless of what's on the books or what has happened before. And I think that is what makes a difference. And that's the reason why people should vote, is we can make decisions to do that as elected officials, but in many ways we're validating what the community standard is. And people are in the streets right now setting what the community standard is. And we need to make sure that community standard in social justice is taken into the halls of the legislature by Dawn Addis and myself, and into the halls of Congress by Salud Carbajal. And we would have loved to have Ellen Barode be taking it into the halls of the county courthouse. But that's what this election is about. That is what Get Out the Vote is about. We can't take it for granted. And it's really now, with people voting more remotely, it puts upon us more of an obligation to motivate people, to make sure they vote. People are going to be voting over a 4 or 5 week period, and we need to reach out to them in new and different ways and make sure that this, the most important election of modern times, people do not take for granted and do not lean back for, and make sure that Ellen will have an F rating by the NRA when she is in the assembly, and we have to make sure she gets there.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate your comments on representation. It's really inspiring to young people. I just want to affirm this, to see LGBTQ folks in higher positions of office. And I'm inspired myself, of course, by politicians who run in my county. I'm a resident of Monterey, and it's so wonderful to see something like that. And just a final quick question. What suggestions do you have for young queer folks entering the political sphere, whether it be running for office or just voting?
I think first, you're not alone. This is a movement. There are many people out there. You have a chance to grow in any possible way. So make sure that you do it, you're clear about who you are, and that you know that you have a big future ahead, and you get to help shape the future right now. You get somebody that at the national level that discriminates against trans people, or you voting for people at the local, the state, and the federal level that don't. That really makes a difference, and it makes a difference on civil rights in a broader sphere. And it means many times electing people is about starting the conversation about how we're going to do it within the halls of power. And so it's make sure you're in the conversation, make sure you're expressing yourself, and make sure that you vote for people that recognize who you are and can see them in all levels of government and see them in all levels of protection. It's very important, and it's what this election is going to be about. So I'm really glad to be here today, Lauren. Thank you for asking those questions.
Absolutely, and thank you for joining us. This was amazing, amazing opportunity. And I'm gonna go ahead and transition to Ellen Bayroe, our next panelist, and I really appreciate your time again. Thanks so much, guys.
Hey, that went easy. Well, I'm going to take a few minutes to talk with Miriam Shaw. And we're going to be, I'm going to be asking her a couple questions about why it's important to get involved now. For some, November seems like a long way away. Miriam, are you on? I don't see you on my screen, but can you tell us there you are.
Hi.
Tell us your thoughts about why we need to get involved now versus waiting until October.
Well, with the whole mail-in ballot situation, I think the campaign is now. The time is now. The ballots go out at the beginning of October, and I remember campaigning back in 2018, and election day is now just a drop in the bucket. The entire month of October is election day. So, and you have to keep in mind, a lot of people vote the first day they get that thing in the mail. So the time is now to be getting active, talking to family, talking to friends. You managed to put the really cool background up. People can go to slowcdp.org/GOTV and just get involved.
Excellent. Thank you, Miriam. And Miriam does an excellent job as one of our local electeds. And we want you to get involved and get more Democrats in our important seats around the county. So we are going to be transitioning now to, we're going to start the Spanish segment, and Adrian Garcia Specht will be interviewing Don Addis in Spanish. So stay tuned.
Hi, buenas tardes. ¿Me pueden oír? ¿Estamos bien? Me imagino que sí. Soy Adrian, miembro del Partido Demócrata localmente. Gracias por estar con nosotros en este día. Estamos en elecciones, como estamos hablando aquí ahora, y ahora más que nunca tenemos que usar nuestra voz y votar. En solo 3 meses van a llegar las boletas de votación por correo en octubre. Yo sé que cada de ustedes están listos para votar, pero también tenemos que animar a nuestras familias, amigas y comunidad a que se registren y voten. Eso lo vamos a cumplir juntos, apuntándonos como voluntarios con el Partido Demócrata de San Luis Obispo. En nuestra comunidad latina, los que pueden votar representan la voz de otros inmigrantes que no pueden votar por su estado migratorio. Tenemos esta gran responsabilidad y todos, incluyendo los que no pueden votar, pueden ser voluntarios para promover la votación por correo. Pueden registrarse para ser voluntarios y ayudar con bancos telefónicos y mandar mensajes de text en el sitio del Partido Demócrata de San Luis Obispo. Así trabajamos todos juntos para animar a nuestra comunidad. Cuando votamos, tenemos la oportunidad de decidir una cantidad de cosas que afectan a su comunidad, estado o país. Este año tenemos la oportunidad de votar para más que el presidente de los Estados Unidos. Vamos a tener amplio de proposiciones en el estado de California y una cantidad de oficiales localmente que podemos escoger. Estoy feliz de presentar a Don Addis, que ha hablado hace rato, consejera de Morro Bay, quien está presentándose como candidata para asamblista del Distrito 35. Hola, Don, ¿tienes el video puesto?
Sí, hola, buenas.
Buenas tardes. Aquí vamos a empezar nuestra conversación y quería empezar, has hablado este rato un poquito sobre esto, pero ya en español. ¿Por qué estás presentándote como candidata para asamblista?
Porque ya es tiempo para tener la representación que es muy importante para nosotros. Hemos visto en el año 2018 el cambio que podemos hacer si toda la gente se involucran en las elecciones. Por ejemplo, en nuestras ciudades hemos elegido la primera latina en Paso Robles, la latina más joven en Santa María, y en mi elección para la ciudad de Morro Bay, yo era la única con información en español. Y lo que yo vi en este momento es que cuando la gente se involucran en las elecciones, podemos cambiar muchas cosas. Y por eso quiero usar mi voz. Y quiero usar mi voz en una, ¿cómo se dice? Una silla un poquito más grande, la asamblea, ¿no? The Assembly. porque no tenemos la representación que necesitamos en este momento. Tenemos a alguien que no viene a las ciudades para hablar con la gente, que realmente no conoce los problemas de la gente en nuestro distrito que se llama AD35, que realmente no está con nosotros. Y eso es lo que quiero cambiar yo. Y sé que cuando echamos las ganas, cuando ponemos la fuerza, podemos cambiar el mundo realmente. Yo, cuando era niña, como de 12 años, escogí que quería ser maestra. Y por eso aprendí el español, porque yo quería involucrarme con las vidas de mis estudiantes. Y por eso hablo español. Y lo que yo sé de ser maestra es que la gente necesita más representación. Si vamos a cambiar cosas como cuánto dinero hay en la escuela para la gente que habla español, para los aprendices de inglés. Yo trabajo con la comunidad que son aprendices de inglés y necesitamos más recursos para esta comunidad, y es el Estado que nos da el dinero, ¿no? Que da el dinero a las escuelas para estos programas. Entonces hay muchas cosas que necesitamos cambiar en estos momentos, y por eso aquí estoy como candidata.
Gracias, Dawn. Estás hablando de los recursos que ocupamos en el estado, y tu posición, como que si ganas, vas a ayudar a traer esos recursos aquí localmente. Sí quiero también recordar a gente o decirles que yo te he conocido unos 2 años y siempre estás pensando en los inmigrantes aquí localmente, de lo que podemos hacer para inmigrantes y los hijos de inmigrantes que son ciudadanos aquí. Y te quedo agradecida para eso, siempre tener en tu mente que es lo mejor para la gente, toda la gente localmente. Y también hablaste ahorita del año 2018, cuando hicimos muchas avanzas localmente. ¿Qué va a ser la diferencia esta elección? ¿Qué opinas usted que vamos a hacer diferente, mejor esta vez?
Mira, esta vez tienen que votar todos. Hay mucha en ¿cómo se dice? En el balance, ¿no? Muchas cosas muy importantes. El presidente sí, pero también es el gobierno del estado que puede ser como una barrera, un barrier a lo que está haciendo el presidente. Y es el gobierno localmente en las ciudades que puede empujar un poquito para hacer una barrera, pero también para mover las cosas en la dirección que queremos. Y por eso muy, muy importante que votan para todos los candidatos que representan nuestros valores, nuestros values.
Gracias, Dawn. De vuelta, tenemos que votar, y no nomás es importante votar para el presidente. Aquí en California sabemos que Joe Biden va a ganar el estado, pero lo que importa mucho más que eso es votar para todas las posiciones localmente, los oficiales localmente, para el estado y para localmente las consejeros, todo. Y también en California tenemos las proposiciones que también van a ser importantes. Si quiere ayudar usted a ayudarnos a que voten todos, pueden ir al sitio del Partido Demócrata de San Luis Obispo para ser voluntario, a mandar text messages, hablar a gente y de veras animar a la comunidad latina aquí ahorita empezando en octubre.
Y dilo a sus amigos, dilo a sus amigos también, ¿no?
Sí, también lo vamos a hablar, y si ya llenaste tu boleto, ya vamos a mandarla por correo todos juntos como comunidad.
Esto. Ok, gracias.
Gracias, y gracias a todos.
Thank you so much. I am just so proud and so inspired by the community that has come. We're going to continue for just a little bit with some more music from DJ Suze. I'm putting her information in the video in just a minute, and then we're going to come back in just 1 second.
Gracias, es un honor estar con ustedes. Unidos podemos cambiar el mundo.
Thank you, Suzette.
Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. You can dance for inspiration. Come on.
Thank you so much, DJ Suzette. I'm going to stop the video. Thank you so much. We're going to be posting her contact information in just 1 minute. I want to get the executive committee back on the... Can have everyone in the executive committee to join, everyone involved. Charles as well, join us. Gail. I'm going to also add...
Rita, this has been so much fun.
Yay, hasn't it? Really good way to celebrate 4th of July. Right?
It certainly is. It certainly is. And there hasn't been too many great ways to celebrate because everything, you know, we're not supposed to be celebrating that much. So it's a great way to connect with people and to think about how positive the future can be when we all get out to vote and we make sure everyone is engaged in the November election.
Yes, yes. And can I ask you guys what has been your favorite parts of the event so far?
For me, it was seeing everybody again. You know, when you campaign, you see everybody like every single week. And then, you know, with all this COVID stuff, we get isolated and don't get a chance to connect. So for me, it was getting reinvigorated in the election process and supporting our democracy.
Yeah, I think I was attracted by just all the talent and enthusiasm here, and the articulants, you know, and also kind of the paradox of this is Independence Day, and of course that's very important. But also, I mean, I'm dependent on all of you, and we're all dependent on each other, and it's a beautiful thing. So I'm also celebrating my dependence on all of this good energy.
Yes. So. Well, Gail, what do you think about it?
Oh, I love it. I love seeing our elected officials and our people running for open seats this November to come and join us. I want to thank you very much. And we have the opportunity to really elect our leadership that we need here on the Central Coast. So hope everyone goes out and votes. Get signed up.
Yeah. And Adrian, what do you think?
Well, I appreciate seeing everyone y también podemos ganar todos estos, todas las cosas que queremos podemos ganar y lo siento aquí con todos juntos, que tenemos la energía y las personas que pueden ganar en estas elecciones, empezando en octubre cuando llegan los boletos.
Pues.
We can win.
Queremos bailar en noviembre.
Sí.
Awesome. Thank you so much to everyone. Thank you so much everyone who joined. We are now going to do a raffle, so no one leaves. We're going to do a quick, hey Charles, how are you doing? Did you enjoy it? You're muted, Charles. You're muted, Charles. I'm going to unmute you, don't worry. I can't unmute you, actually. I don't know. There's something between Zoom and you, Charles. There it is.
Oh,
no.
I'm here. I'm so sorry I didn't miss that. Lo siento mucho, but that was so articulate and the whole thing. This has been a wonderful connecting. Very much.
Yes, and we're gonna do more. I wanna say thank you to DJ Suze as well. Thank you so much. She jumped into this very short notice. So we're gonna be sharing her contact info in our video, and we're gonna be sharing it as well, the video everywhere. We're gonna do the raffle now. So I'm gonna share my screen really carefully. So I have a lot of things going on here. But let me know when you can see my screen. So we're gonna do the raffle really quick. Let me know if you can see my screen. But we have, yeah, we have 37 people that have been participating with us. So 1 through 37. Yes, 37. So I'm gonna just go into a random number generator. It's actual, the internet is amazing. It has everything you need. So I'm gonna go 1 to 37, and I'm gonna select, you have to be present. So, well, we'll find you. Let's do that, because it'll be really hard to find you right now. So number 12 got a $50 gift card. So let's see who won it. Loading, loading, loading. Lori Cowdill got it. Yay. Thank you so much. Some amazing Democratic member as well. So thank you so much for joining. We are gonna get that gift card to you, Lori. Thank you for participating. And thanks everyone. We're gonna get out the vote. If you are ready to help, go here. I got it right this time. SLOCDP.org/get-out-the-vote or GOTV. Just go to our website. You're gonna find our calendar of events. Go to our Facebook so you can see the latest and greatest. And yeah, we'll be getting out the vote. Thanks everyone for joining. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.